Thanks, Ray. We will start again. Hopefully that hasn't been too much of a problem and you're with me. Excellent. So we're going to look at what Teams is and the different types of meetings. And if you want to take part in this meeting today, you can click on the little question mark and ask a question. It won't go live to everyone else in the group until Ray, who is moderating this meeting, actually publishes it. So he can actually send a private reply to you, or if it's a great question or relevant to everyone, he can share that with the whole group. It's recorded, so you can go back and listen to the recording or share it with friends and colleagues afterwards. So Teams really is a chat-based workspace. You can have conversations with your colleagues. You can organise your content into different groups or teams, as they're called. You can send assignments. You can plan with other lecturers. There's lots of different ways that you can use Teams. So any of the Office 365 documents, you can share PowerPoints, spreadsheets, and collaborate on them in real time. We're focused on teaching and learning today, but Teams is being used right across universities in Australia for management, for professional staff, for students collaborating in an informal way. It's a really flexible tool that there are features that everyone can benefit from. You can access it through any device and any modern web browser. So for teaching and learning, you can organise your content into teams, and a team, there's a snapshot on the page there. I've basically got different sections or channels where I can have conversations on particular topics or courses. We can make private rooms just for staff or just for a particular tutorial group. And within these teams, we can have meetings, so live meetings, face-to-face meetings, like we're doing now. So with meetings, they're really built to be collaborative. So when I create a meeting with someone and invite them, they all have the opportunity to present, to share their screen. Everyone can add audio and video into the conversation if they need to. What we're doing now is actually a live event. So on the right hand of the screen, you've got their events that connect audiences at scale. So that's really if you're giving a lecture to people that may be in the room, so you can present in a lecture theatre, but also live broadcast that to people who may be at home or overseas or in another campus. So it's really great for online courses and those times when you want to share your content with people that can't physically be there. So the meetings are a bit smaller. You can have up to 250 attendees, and the live events you can have up to 10,000 people attending at once. So let's have a look at Teams meetings first of all. There's actually a whole lot of different ways to create a Teams meeting. You can do it through Outlook, where you can just click on Teams meeting. You can do it from within a chat window. You can do it directly inside a team. You can do it through your mobile phone Outlook app. But the most common one that I use is to just do it through my Teams calendar. So when I go to my Teams calendar, I've got the Teams app, whether I'm on my phone or a web page, or I've got the app on my computer. I go to my calendar. All of my events and meetings are synced with Outlook, and I can, in the top right hand corner, start a new meeting or meet now. So as I said, you can invite up to 250 people. If I click meet now, I can actually add those people in real time. If I click new meeting, what I can do is, just like I would with an Outlook meeting, is I can give it a title, a location. I can choose to meet in one of the Teams channels that I've set up, and I can invite people here. So I can schedule my meeting, and then people can join when they're ready. So you just click the join button, and here I've got my live camera. you're warned if your speakers are muted, so I won't be able to hear anyone, and I can turn my camera on or off. So there'll be times when I'm presenting and I want to show something live, I can use my camera. Depending on the device I'm using, I can use an external camera or the built-in rear or front-facing camera, and I can access a whole lot of other options. So when I'm presenting, I just hover over the screen and this option bar appears here. So I'm going to go through some of the options that you've got there. The most common one is sharing. So most often in a meeting, I won't be sharing just a video of me talking. I'll be actually showing perhaps a PowerPoint with some graphics on, or I might be demonstrating how to do something in a piece of software. So I can actually choose to share my whole desktop, or I can share one particular window. And in fact, in this presentation now, I'm just sharing Teams. So if I were to open Edge or PowerPoint, you wouldn't see what I was opening because I'm just sharing that one window. What I can also do is share an existing PowerPoint. So it shows the most recent PowerPoints that I've opened. And if I share that with the audience, they can actually go through that PowerPoint independently of me presenting it. Sharing a PowerPoint does take up a bit more bandwidth, so I always recommend, if you're talking to a lot of people and if you're going over distance, to share desktop. It's always safer to present a PowerPoint and it takes up less bandwidth than if you're sharing the whole file across the meeting. So I can quickly share anything directly from here, and I can choose to include the audio if I'm playing a video or something where the audio is coming from the program rather than just my microphone. You can include that system audio if you need to. So once I'm sharing a screen, so here, for example, I'm sharing a PowerPoint, you get a bar at the top that shows you what you're presenting. You can at any time stop presenting or give control to another person on the call. And you've got all the features just appear down the bottom here, so you can turn your camera back on, you can share another screen and those sorts of things. So really quite intuitive to use. As with all Microsoft products, if you see the three little dots, that gives you further options. So one of the most popular further options here is blur my background. So that can be really useful if you're working in an office or a cafe and there's different things happening around you. Teams will just focus on your face and blur whatever's in the background. So you won't see any children running around or people walking past the window and those sorts of things. So that's a really great option. The other one is turning on live captions. So currently in a Teams meeting, you can have live captions in English. When we look at a live event, you'll see that you can add other options as well. The other one, which is particularly useful for universities, is start recording. So if you are doing a tutorial or you're giving a lecture, you can record it just by clicking that button. So it isn't automatic. You have to click start recording, and that can be done at any time. So you can do some preliminary chatting and then start recording when you get into the meat of your presentation. And that recording will be available to any member of your university, but you can choose to limit that to just a few people or to a particular member of a course or those sorts of things. So you have control over that recording if you've recorded it. You can chat within a meeting. So anyone who's in the meeting can just type. They can also send files, smiley faces, those sorts of things directly within the chat, and people can like them as well. So while you're presenting, students could be having a chat and helping each other and sharing relevant files to clarify points. You can turn the chat on or off so it doesn't distract you as a presenter just by clicking the chat icon there. And what's also quite a nice idea, if you are delivering a Teams meeting to a large number of people, is to have someone moderating that chat, whether it's a co-lecturer or whether it's a student who has a responsibility to share and help in that way. So you've got that interaction happening within the chat window. And the icon next to that, the people icon, clicking that will actually show you who's attending the meeting, and you can also add extra people. You can invite them directly from within the meeting, and anyone on the call is able to do that as it's a collaborative meeting. Now I'm going to talk about live events. So what we've just seen there is the collaborative way where anyone can share their screen and turn their microphone on and take part in the meeting. With a live event, it's much more like a broadcast. You have this so Ray, who's producing this live in Sydney, he actually sees a screen like the one I'm showing here, and if other people were presenting, he could pull them into the feed, queue them up, and switch over views. If I had my camera on, he could switch to my live camera feed and those sorts of things. So it's with a live event, if it's just you presenting, you can manage that yourself, but if you have got a number of presenters, it's quite helpful to have someone producing that and then also monitoring the question and answers as well. As we'll see when we go through the options, the Q&A is an optional thing. So if you're just broadcasting yourself, it might not be so useful to do that because people won't get those questions live while you're chatting. So hopefully some of you are seeing this. I think there's been a few question and answers. I've seen some alerts pop up on my screen, but I haven't opened them yet. So you will see featured question or featured Q&A will be ones that have been published to everyone, and my questions will be anything that's just been sent directly to you. Also, Ray, as the producer, can send out announcements. So if he's got a really great resource or he wants to send you to a video or a link, he can post those as well. So live events is really the collaborative part of Q&A is the collaborative part of live events. So great for large audiences, distance learning, online courses. If you've got someone, you might have an important speaker or a guest speaker who is speaking to a packed hall, you could do a live feed to everyone who wasn't lucky enough to get tickets, or to those who were overseas or on another campus. So really easy to share. And you can actually access live events in 3 ways: through Teams that we've been looking at today. Yammer, if your university uses Yammer, you can access those live feeds, and Stream. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Stream later on. That's a particularly useful app for students on the go or overseas or working off campus. So we'll have a look at that a bit later as well. So really easy to set up an event. I showed you earlier the calendar where you set up a new meeting. There's actually a drop down button there where there's a second option called New Live Event. If you choose New Live Event, it looks very similar to a standard meeting, but you can invite people to your event group as presenters or producers. So a producer is able to determine what is actually sent live to the attendees, and the presenters are people who can share their screen, their microphone, their video, and also take part and moderate the Q&A. So you've got those options there in a live event. You can choose whether the live event is specific people, organisation wide, so that would be people with the same email address, so one particular university, for example, or you can make it public, which is the one we're using today. Anyone in the world, if they've got the link to this webinar, is able to join in and access it. Then you have a few options about producing your live event. So if we look here, you can choose who the recording is available. Is it available just to the internal people that are presenting, or are you going to make it available to everyone at the end of the session? If you tick this box here, the second one, then as soon as the webinar is finished, the link is available to a recording that you can share with people. You can choose to have captions. So you say what language the presenter is in, and then you can have up to 6 different languages presented. So if you look at your screen, you should see a CC button somewhere, depending on what device you're using, and you're able to see a live transcription of what I'm saying. So I'm not sure which languages were chosen for this, but you can have up to 6 different languages and switch between them if you want. Also, Q&A is not ticked by default. So just tick Q&A if you do want to monitor that, have those live questions and answers, which adds a bit more interactivity to what otherwise is just a live video. So those are really your options when you set up a live event, and you're taking part in a live event now, so you know how it all works. Behind the scenes, once the video is, once the webinar's finished, I get access to the video recording as a presenter. I can download all the questions and answers. I can see how engaged the attendees are when they've asked questions or how long they've spent watching it. And I can download a transcript in any of the languages that we turned on at the beginning. So you get some nice feedback about how the session's gone there, and you can make that transcript searchable to people as well. So some really great things that you can do in live events. It doesn't need to be a great production with producers and presenters. If it's just you sharing stuff to a large group of people, you can be the only producer, share your screen and make the video recording available at the end. But you have got some of those extra options if you need them. The final thing I wanted to talk to you about meetings is private chat. So within the Teams interface, there's a section called chat, and this is really the place where you would have one-to-one chats with colleagues. So it's your instant messaging. In some organisations, it's your a telephony system, so you can make phone calls to other people within your organisation. You can also have video chats and share your screen directly from the chat interface. So here I'm chatting to a student called Hermione, and I can share her file. I can share files with her. I can ask questions, and if I want to have a one-to-one video call, I can just click this button and we're straight into a one-to-one Teams meeting in the same way that we looked at earlier. You've also got on the right hand side there the option to add other people. So if I'm talking to Hermione and she said, oh, I've got a friend who was asking about this as well, we can add them into the call or the chat, and we can have kind of 3 of us in a mini team collaborating. We can open up this file and we can all edit it at the same time, and we can have a voice call and chat about it while we're editing it. So chat works in exactly the same way as a Teams meeting, but it's slightly less formal and it is kept private. Other people in your team or your organisation don't necessarily need to know about the little groups that that you're working with in chat. So that's another really useful feature there. Now, Stream. I mentioned that you could access Teams meetings and live events via Stream, and you can access via the web or via the app. So I've got the Android app for Stream, and anytime I've had a meeting that's been recorded, it automatically goes into the Stream app. So I can actually access any of the meetings that have been recorded, and I can actually download for offline viewing. So that's really useful in places where you might have patchy internet. If you're attending a live event and suddenly the internet goes down where you happen to be, or the audio is not great because you haven't got a good signal, you can just download that in your own time and watch it later on. So you can access all of your previous meetings. You can download for offline viewing, and it's a really safe way to access the content. It's encrypted, it's secure, and it's private just to those people that have got access. So if you've recorded a meeting, but you don't want to share it with all your students, you might want to edit it first, or it's not the sort of thing you want to give access to, you can just hide access. But what you can also do is add any videos into your stream feed for your course or your channel or your group of students that you're working with. So you might have recorded an experiment you were doing in the lab, or you might have an interview that you did with someone else a couple of years ago. Anything that's been recorded as a video can be shared directly into Streams. So that's a really useful tool to have, and I always recommend Stream for student access of video. As soon as you have finished a meeting or a live event, it starts getting uploaded into Stream automatically, and you get an email once that's been completed. So yesterday, for example, I recorded 2 videos, and about 10 minutes later I got an email saying they were uploaded into Stream. I can then go in and decide what to do with them. I can go in and trim them if there's a long break at the beginning, or I've had to restart, something like that. You can also make transcripts available. So what's really nice about that is if I've been presenting and chatting and I've talked about some sophisticated or technical concepts, and I've used some fancy words, students can actually search for those words and they will be able to find the video. So you can actually automatically, Stream will transcribe what you've said and make it searchable, which is really useful. So I can search for a particular word, click on that word, and it will take me straight to the place in the video where that word was said. Stream is only available internally to people in your uni. So if you are sharing with external people, so you might be sharing with people from another university or from a school or an organisation, you would have to make the video available in some other way. Stream currently is only available to people within your organisation. So those are really some great ideas to get started with Teams. Teams meeting is great to do with those if you want those collaborative meetings. Live event if you're doing more of a lecture or broadcast, and then I think Stream is the place to play them back. Nice and easy to use, and you've got that offline capability as well. So hopefully you found that useful. There are some further resources that I'm going to bring your attention to. The first one is really all about getting Office 365. It's available free for all universities in Australia and in many other countries as well, and you can download the Teams app for free on whatever device you're using. The second one there is a help center, especially for Microsoft Education. So you've got tips and training on Teams, as well as Stream and Office and OneNote and all those sorts of things. And then the third one, Get Started with Teams, is just a quick guide to get up and running with Teams. The email address I put there is available for anyone to use. You'll be, if you work in an Australian education establishment, that'll be forwarded to the relevant person who can look after you with your queries. So all of these recordings will be available at the end of today. All the details are on the blog at the bottom there, and there's a really nice guide which actually goes into some more detail about what I've spoken about, and has got some online guidance for you. aka.ms/Teams academic guide. If you follow that, you get a really nice overview of all the things that we're talking about in these 3 webinars today. So thank you very much for attending, and maybe some of you will come back later on.